Hello everybody, welcome along. Today I'm going to demonstrate for you how to make a simple spring Easter wreath for you to make using bits and pieces you'll find in your garden and around your home. To start off with, I've made a simple wire frame using a metal coat hanger. It's the kind of coat hanger that you'd get from the dry cleaners. So I've just unravelled it and I've bent it round into a wreath shape, and then just to hide those raw edges I've taken some strong electrical tape that I found in the garage and just wrapped that around a few times just to conceal those edges. Usually when I make a wreath we would use a moss base to keep the foliage fresher for longer. Unfortunately we haven't got any moss at the moment, so I've cut foliages from my garden that are a little bit tougher and are going to last a little bit better out of water. I have got for you today some bay, some Senecio, a couple of different types of eucalyptus. Got this one and this one with the lovely berries on it as well, some rosemary, some viburnum. Now viburnum is a flower but it's about as tough as flowers get. It's only going to last a couple of days, but I thought we had a nice bit of colour onto the wreath. I've also got a few twigs as well that I've cut from the garden, things like this. This one's got some nice little buds on it, and then I've got some contorted hazel as well. I thought this would be nice because when we're finished we can add some Easter decorations onto the wreath. So once you've got your frame, you're ready to make a start. If you haven't got a metal coat hanger, you could cut some long soft branches from a tree in the garden and you could wrap that around and make a ring out of that. Ideally you want to use some real wire, which is what I've got here, to make your door wreath. Again, if you haven't got that, some simple garden twine would do the same trick. I'm going to use the real wire, this is what I'm used to using, so I'm just going to fasten that onto the wreath like so, a couple of times, so we're nice and secure, like that, and then we're ready to go. Right, so once you've got your wire or your twine secure onto your wreath frame, you're ready to start adding the foliage. I've cut everything into small pieces so we're all ready to go. I've tried to keep my pieces quite long to make a nice wild sort of looking wreath. If you'd rather something a bit shorter and a bit tighter and more compact, obviously cut your pieces a little bit shorter. So you're ready to add on. I'm going to start off with a simple piece of Senecio, lay it across your wreath, and then take your wire or your twine and just wrap it around a couple of times to secure onto your frame, like so. Then just add up alternating your foliages as you go around. You might want to, as you start, add a couple of bits in one go. It just helps to build up your wreath quicker and make a fuller display. And again, just wrap that twine or your wire nice and tightly around the base of the foliage to secure it onto your wreath frame. And just keep adding on as you go around. I'm going to take a bit more of my bay, maybe add some of this rosemary, and I'm going to add a nice bit of twig in there as well, because when we finish we can add the Easter decorations and hang them from the branches of the twigs that are onto the wreath. And keep wrapping that wire around nice and tightly. Right, you can see now that I'm really starting to build up the shape of the wreath here by adding lots more foliages in as we go around and adding those branches in. Keep pulling that wire or twine around nice and securely so it keeps everything in place. If you haven't got any wire and you are using twine, you might find it easier to, instead of wrapping around all around the wreath frame, is to cut a short piece of twine and make a little bunch together. So you're almost making like a little mini bouquet, little mixture of foliages, like so, and then wrapping them around and then tying them onto the frame and building it up that way. It might be a little bit easier if you're stopping and starting. That's my daughter in the background, enjoying the sunshine. By doing that way, as I say, you can stop and start the wreath making, and it might be a little bit easier for you to control. Sometimes because the twine is a little bit stretchy, you really have to pull it tight if you're wrapping it around and around the wreath. So that way you can just build it up individually, making little bunches to build up your wire frame, and then once it's nice and secure, cut the excess off, and as you add that next bunch on, it's going to cover up that knot. So I'm just coming to the end of my wreath now and meeting back up to where I started. I'm just going to add those last few bits and pieces in to make sure we have a nice full and complete wreath with no holes in. And take my wire or your twine around those last few times and make sure it's nice and secure. Like so. Now to make a loop, keep your wire or your twine attached and just loosen a bit of that wire out and make a loop around your hand like so, and pass that wire or your twine back around behind the wreath. Then I take that around the top of the wreath and wrap it around just a few times around where you've made that loop to hold that nice and secure, like so. Then once that feels nice and tight, cut the end of your wire off and you can just poke that back into your wreath frame so it's concealed and it's not going to scratch your paintwork wherever you hang it. Now, as I've gone round, I've noticed there's a couple of gaps here and there, and you can see that awful electrical tape that I used to secure my wreath. So just take the odd bit of spare foliage you might have knocking around and just tuck that in between the wire or the twine or the foliage, and somewhere nice and secure to tuck that in and hide those last bits of visible tape or coat hanger or twig frame up. Another bit up there at the top we don't want to see. And as you've been around so many times with your wire or your twine, you should have plenty of places where you can tuck those last little bits of foliage in nice and securely. And there you have your completed wreath. So to finish off, I've hung my wreath up on our shed door, and I've had a rummage in my ribbon box indoors, and I found this lovely natural ribbon. So I've just threaded it around the back of the wreath, and I'm going to knot it on and make a little bow. Of course, you could add your bow onto the top of the wreath or no bow at all. Personal preference, but I really think it adds a nice finishing touch. I'm just going to make a little bow there and give it a little tweak to finish it off, like so. And then I've got my box of Easter decoration, and I'm going to hang them on the branches of the twigs that we added into the wreath. Now, I've had these for years, and we bring them out every single year, and I think most people have got some Easter decorations at home. But of course, if you haven't, you can have a go at making your own, either some paper crafting, or you could blow eggs if you have any luck finding eggs in a supermarket. Blow your eggs and you can hand paint them and add them onto your wreath. There are all sorts of different things you could add on to the wreath as well. You could add in some more flowering blossom, things like forsythia, which are out now. You could even tuck a few flowers in, but of course they're really not going to last very long without any moss on the back. So maybe just do that for Easter Sunday or for Easter Monday. I'm just going to add them on. Like so. And there we have our finished Easter wreath. I wish everybody a happy and a safe Easter, and please don't forget, if you do have a go at making a wreath at home, remember to tag CREATE98 in all your photos on social media. Thanks ever so much.